Plenty of retribution last round, and the next one promises some fire and brimstone. That's right, we got a Fang matchup, and he's going to be taking on Arakni. Slip through the cracks. We're back at the May AGE Open in Season 3. My name is Bryce Platts, and I'm here with Michael Murray. Are you excited for this next match?
Oh, yeah. I love seeing Slippy these days, the aggressively slanted assassin. Super cool to see the natural go again every turn and have these wider, kind of more unpredictable, aggressive assassin plays where the other assassins have a tendency to be a little bit more defensive.
And this is one of the players that's going to be on this feature match. You might recognize him if you've been watching AGE streams. It's Peter Buddensiek, our only representation from Las Vegas today, who has shifted teams once again. He's now on Team Runaways.
All right.
And he would definitely be a League of Legends pro if he wasn't competing in Flesh and Blood, or so he says. And his rival is his, I don't know if teammate anymore, but longtime compatriot on the Kano Council, Majin Bey, who you might have heard of as well.
Heard of that guy.
Yeah, you're probably one of his disciples.
Yeah. Definitely looking at his content whenever I want to know how to play a wizard, although I will give a shout out to Yuto, the Acilio master. He's my main guy when it comes to learning how to play this new lightning wizard.
Peter says he would banish taxes from the world forever, which is interesting because I don't think he pays them anyway. And his competitor is going to be Patrick R., a member of the AGE Pro team, and also somebody near and dear to my heart because he and I have been working on this Fang Dracai of Blades list since its conception?
Both.
Yeah, both of those things since The Hunted has come out. So Patrick is a very proficient Fang player at this point. He also is a master of the Mechanologist class, and he is a turn 0 local, which is where his card game rival comes from. John Kim is a very proficient Prism player at turn 0, and he's Patrick's rival here.
Makes sense. Those Illusionist players tend to slot right into the rivalry slot from what I've done and seen in this game.
He also insists that our producer, Justin Leewog, should get more FaceTime on the AGE stream. Little does he know that Justin is not actually a real person. He's just a dog puppet that we keep behind the producer desk.
Yeah, well, 3 of them, right, in a trench coat.
Yeah, definitely, because they have to be taller. 3 puppets on top. So are the lower puppets puppeting the upper puppets?
There's one, yeah, exactly. There's one arm kind of going through all of them.
All right, I'm dead. What are we doing? Let's go down to the match floor, shall we?
Let's get it.
Okay, like we said before, it is Arakni Slip Through the Cracks in the hand of Peter Buddensiek versus Patrick R. on Fang, Dracai of Blades, who happens to be a Lakers fan as well. So eat your heart out, Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, but he is a Warrior.
Oh, true.
It's important to mention at this point, folks, that there was a little trash talk going on at the feature match table before players shuffled up. Justin Leewog, our 3 dog puppets in a trench coat, asked Peter, what do you think? Do you have any hot takes about the matchup? Peter responded, well, Warrior sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then Patrick responded, do you remember?
I beat a Slippy last round, baby.
All right. And both these players are X and O. Looks like the trash talk is flying. And hopefully for Patrick, the fealty tokens will be as well as he tries to prove his loyalty to his Emperor and reach Value Town, maximizing free daggers until Peter is nothing but dust.
Looking forward to the way this one falls.
Looks like Patrick just goes ahead. He elected to go first here, and he just arsenaled and passed.
Oh, and Peter says, I don't like that arsenal.
Here comes Command and Conquer. Patrick, however, should have a good number of blocking cards. Oops, hello. That's not the right button, Bryce. He does, however, have a Shelter from the Storm, which is not applicable here. Command and Conquer says no defense reactions.
Yeah, it's an annoying card to draw in this spot, but does have plenty of 3 blocks in the deck.
I think I saw Glint the Quicksilver plus Long Whisker Loyalty, which does mean that Patrick can block it out, but that being said, it's not ideal. What is ideal is throwing that foot piece right in front of that CNC, so it's covered up nicely there. And Patrick does have 2 reds in hand, not where you want to be as Fang. If you are going to be pitching reds this early on in the game, you kind of need a full grip. In this case, just pitching away that Shelter from the Storm, Patrick probably really upset that he didn't discard it away early on that turn 0 because it's basically useless here anyway.
I think he drew into it. No?
No. He had it in hand.
Okay.
In this case, he goes ahead and plays Obsidian Firevein, uses Long Whisker Loyalty just to get the mark effect here, which is an astute play here because Peter was sitting on that sink below anyway, and so denying Peter a little bit of defensive value there.
Yeah, worked out.
Filtering away some bad cards is Peter Buddensiek, though, as he ticks up his tunic to 2. He is sporting that Mask of Perdition, which was popularized by Chris Aioli last month on the AG stream. Important to mention, too, that if you want to go back and take a look at that Chris Aioli list, we've got our first ever match of the month on the YouTube channel. Chris Aioli versus Anthony Pham just got uploaded yesterday. It was a laugh riot, and we have a little bit of player commentary to boot. Back to the matter at hand. Hunter's Clave is covered up by Patrick with a That'll You Got, and it's Infect as the second attack here. Sink below, so far covering up this damage, but Peter has himself a yellow shred, which is going to reduce the defensive value down to 1.
Patrick going ahead and taking that. 2 damage goes across the table, as well as that Bloodrot Pots token. So 4 total if Patrick decides not to pay into it. Unlikely he will. Those blues do need to be pitched for the daggers early on if you want to be able to swing them without those fealties.
I do believe Patrick did not have himself a resource card, and off of that all you got, he draws himself a... Oh, maybe not, because he's resolving this Relentless Pursuit. Nevertheless, this is a fantastic card to resolve early on in the Fang game plan. Peter is now marked, and Patrick is going to be threatening fealty tokens over and over again, and yeah, it's a second Relentless Pursuit going into the pitch zone. He is fine with this.
Yeah, nice draw there, and finally getting the mark and starting to threaten those fealties. Patrick wants to get online as fast as possible, as you probably already knew, and this is a great way to do that.
A really curious choice in equipment for Patrick. He elects to bring in the Kabuto of Imperial Authority, which is not usually my flavor against Slippy. I would much rather have Crown of Providence just to skirt more arsenal disruption throughout the course of the game. But Patrick is a magnificent player in his own right, and he is resolving Tooth of the Dragon plus Scar Tissue on this first dagger, bringing Obsidian Fire Vein to the fabled breakpoint of 5, which is much better than 4 in this case because a lot of decks are packing defense reactions. So, resetting the mark and creating his first fealty token of the game is Patrick R, and sending yet another Obsidian Fire Vein, this one for 4.
Yeah, really nice here. Clean play. Got the blue, got the resources, just enough to make the vigor, and 2 fealties on the back of this Patrick. Now 2/3 of the way online. Really nice turn here. And Peter holding back all the cards, saying no blocks across the board, makes me a little bit worried for Patrick, as the clapback is probably going to be kind of rough.
Patrick still has access to a lot of armor here, so if he has the skills, he probably has the blocks that kills, but we're going to see if Peter is able to sneak it through here. Right now, 29 plays 36 in the favor of our Draconic Warrior, and Peter is starting off with 2 Saver Bloodsheds, ladies and gentlemen, and he's got plenty of daggers to flick and draw off those Saver Bloodsheds.
Ooh, this is a really tough spot, because as much as you'd like to block this out with the number of reactions that Assassin brings, I wonder if you just let it hit. And I think Patrick is going to tank here for a little bit as he answers that question for himself. 9 damage being presented with 2 cards still left to play.
This is going to be one of the most critical blocks of the game, but does Patrick have the sauce? He does have a massive left shoulder, which is going to Quasimodo us out of seeing what the heck is going on in that hand.
I'm not seeing
it's a Tooth of the Dragon. And yes, a cut from the same claw. So currently, total block value in Patrick's hand is 8, which is not quite enough unless you want to overcommit on
he just
equipment
says no
blocks.
He knows he can't get cute and try to block this one out. But, drawing 2, that's a lot of cards.
Drawing 2 is Peter Buddensiek, and he hasn't even played a stealth card this turn. So this combat chain could get extra wide.
Wow.
Patrick, just like that, is down to 26, eclipsed by Peter's life total by 3, and there is plenty left to say.
Peter feeling pretty darn good about this as he now gets his Orb Weaver Spinneret online, replacing the dagger immediately with a Graphene Calycera. Even more wide chain links to come.
Man, if that was one of the draws off of Saver Bloodshed, Peter is being rewarded to the 9s.
Yeah, you love to see those go-agains when you've got a bunch of cards in hand, that's for sure.
Ooh, interesting. Graphene Calycera is the next attack here. Does have go-again because it has stealth. So this is going to be 4 go again here for Arakni Slip Through the Cracks. I also spied a Pain in the Backside in Peter's hand, so probably going to be able to convert every single one of these cards on offense. And Patrick, still not quite online. He does, however, have a Vigor token, which means that if he can somehow get a mark or another fealty token, he's going to be placed squarely in Value Town. But I don't think I see a marking card.
Yeah, if there's anything I've learned about playing as Fang, you really would like the games to go longer, and this does not bode into that game plan, the amount of damage that Peter is currently sending.
No block, says Patrick here, which means he's got to have something going for him. He did, however, shove armor in front of that pain in the backside. Did take a Bloodrot Pox token for Peter's troubles, and right now there is a life valley between these two players after that really nasty turn from Las Vegas. Patrick R is starting his turn off with a Vigor token popping and then cut from the same cloth, which means that we're probably going to have a mark conferred here. Yes, indeed, we have found an attack reaction, and also Patrick has found himself a ton of information with which to use on the defense.
Yeah, being able to see an assassin's hand is one of the best classes you could possibly peep the information of. They're so tricky that being able to just know what their next turn looks like is a huge boon for Patrick.
Kiss of Death in the hand as well, which makes you wonder what that Arsenal card was. That's the one thing that Patrick can't peek here. And if it is a Tarantula Toxin, that next hand could be really, really devastating. For now, however, Patrick's got himself a Savor Bloodshed as well, which means that this next dagger, this first dagger paid for by a Vigor token, is coming in for a big, bad 9.
Does Assassin block? I mean, does Slippy block? Does Peter block? This is a huge... I mean, Patrick's just doing it right back to him. Peter just hit him with the Savor Bloodshed, and now he's saying, can you block 9?
So if he is going to block here, he does have to consider that whatever attack reaction Patrick has here is going to go over by an extra 3. But Patrick has 2 cards in hand, which is amazing because he can bluff an extra amount of damage to leak this dagger through. And so Peter is probably staring this down going, I can't stop this.
Yeah, I think he's in the same exact position. And one thing I want to point out now that Peter is marked is as soon as he gets that third fealty online, Patrick can switch to his defensive game plan and start to convert 1 card hands.
Yeah, and at that point, once you are squarely in Value Town, it is Fang's game to win.
Huge moment for Peter.
Really in the tank here. It all kind of hinges on whether or not he's got a defense reaction in the arsenal. He could throw, because Patrick has Tooth of the Dragon in his hand, Peter could throw everything in front of this, but then Patrick would simply swing the dagger with the other red floating in hand and get through anyway. So Peter has got to sniff out whether the juice is worth the blocking squeeze. He says no blocks indeed, can't stop it. So Tooth of the Dragon is going to confer +1 and go again here. Peter will take 10, all of a sudden back down to life parity. 19 plays 19, and Patrick is drawing. Oh, you didn't show me. Dastardly teammate, my butt. Okay,
but
3 fealty is now online. Free daggers.
Huge clapback from Patrick.
One of the cards in hand is for the Dracai, which means that if Patrick was able to find... Yeah, he found an attack reaction there. It's Blistering Blade, which means that this chain is going 3 links wide.
Blistering Blade can't mark, though.
No, Blistering Blade does not mark, but it does do damage. Interesting that Peter went for the overblock here. Patrick is enticed, however, to go Blistering Blade all the way up to 8, which means that 1 damage should get through here. Peter descends on down to 18, and then for the Dracai comes in for 4. Peter really wants to hold on to that Kiss of Death and the other attack in his hand and probably just play 2 really threatening head jabs on his turn.
Yeah, that makes sense. But one of the things about Assassin is while they are extremely disruptive, their raw damage output is not as high as some other classes. So the life lead right here for Patrick is a big deal.
Especially now that he has proven his loyalty to his Emperor and is going to be able to swing free daggers for the rest of the game. Value Town, population Patrick R, as Kiss of Death comes in as the first attack on Peter's side of the board.
3 go again with an on-hit of losing a life. All that life is meaningful, and Patrick reaches over for that equipment, says, I'd rather not.
It's important to mention here that the fridge, even though some of it is being devoted here, oh no, it's Tarantula Toxin out of the arsenal. It was that faded card, which means that Grains of Bloodspill is not only going to have his defensive value reduced, it's also going to blow up at the end of this combat chain because it has temper.
Yeah, and at least he's online now. That card really has the most value at the beginning of the game before the fealties are popped. So Patrick is probably not heartbroken, but being able to get the extra value, those extra 2 out of the Tarantula Toxin is tough.
Wow, and Peter popping the Mask of Perdition here, trying to hit 2 reds off the top of Patrick's deck in order to get 2 silver and simply buy back the Mask of Perdition immediately on the next turn.
And that's a very likely thing, as Fang is a very red-heavy deck.
Red heavy indeed, but there are blues and yellows in the Fang deck. So Peter risking a little bit here.
Okay.
Or do you have a defense reaction?
But once you said that, you pass priority to me.
I'm waiting for you to say if you have a defense reaction.
Listening in on the players here, we're talking about a priority window.
No, I'm sorry.
Looks like we're all cleared up here. Just a little bit of syntax miscommunication here from both the players. Peter is a very clean player. I must say, like, when I've seen him play Vincent, for example, he's very diligent about, like, you know, creating the rune chance on the Malefic Incantation after the attack is resolved and after the opponent has chosen to take arcane damage or not. Like, that kind of stuff. He is just super, super clean in the way he represents his game actions.
Yeah, you know what? It's not a big deal. I think I understand what you're trying to say.
Okay, yeah. I'll flick my Kiss of Death.
Sure.
Okay, and we're flicking the Kiss of Death as well, which means that Patrick has taken a boatload of damage here, descending on down to 5. He's got a 9 life deficit to make up, and no, it's a red and a blue off the top, which means that Peter is not going to have access to an extra 1 block for the rest of this game.
Could have been nice. Didn't get there.
Not quite, unless he's able to resolve yet another Leave No Witnesses and hit a red.
Patrick with a Sigil of Solace is nice to kind of climb back up a little bit from 5 to 8 when he decides to do that. Starting things out with the Obsidian Fire Vein.
Here we go. Second free dagger of the game. 9 life to overcome here for Patrick R. And Peter in the tank. Plethora of 3 blocks here. Tons of attack reactions.
Yeah.
We've got a Justinic, we've got a Tarantula Toxin, but neither of the cards that really benefit from it. There's also a Razor's Edge and an Art of Desire Body, which means that Peter is a little bit in a brick house right now.
Yeah, he's probably going to be blocking here.
Peter potentially regretting choosing to pop the Mask of Perdition there, because one of the really awesome use cases for that card is when you have an Art of Desire Body on the combat chain, because if you're hitting reds there, you're drawing cards and gaining life.
Ooh, 7 coming out with the double attack reaction.
Blistering Blade plus Scar Tissue equals a 7-power Obsidian Fire Vein and a mark conferred on hit, which means that Peter is sub 10 life here, and that is a very scary place when you're facing down a Fang. And Patrick has 2 cards in hand. Little does Peter know that one of those is a Sigil of Solace.
Yeah. The other one, I think, Long Whisker Loyalty,
yes, sir,
means he can attack again if he chooses that mode. Just another piece of chip damage.
Vandal Spring Tunic looks like it's coming out to block this Obsidian Fire Vein. Peter also thumbing a card in hand. I would have to imagine that he needs to be blocking here with what he has been given. Long Whisker Loyalty is going to get this attack. It could get it up to 4, but in this case, Patrick is probably going to choose the other 2 modes to force through a mark on this last dagger swing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so this next dagger, the 3rd of the combat chain, is going to mark on hit. And yeah, so Patrick goes up to a 4th fealty, refreshes the mark on Peter Buddensiek, arsenals that Sigil of Solace, which I absolutely love here, Michael, because oftentimes you can bait out Arsenal Disruption from an assassin and then simply play out Sigil of Solace, gain your value there. Art of Desire Body is the first attack for Peter.
So does Peter give 2 cards here? Or does he... No, just the armor.
Okay, looks like Kabuto is going to come out to play, perhaps thinking that Peter really wants to send daggers after this, but based on the context of his hand, we know that is not the case. So 3 blocking 6, now that Razor's Edge is buffing up this Art of Desire Body. Will Peter actually be able to make use of a card if he draws it, however?
Well, this had Go Again, right? It's a stealth card, and yeah, Peter gaining that life is huge too, going back up to 7.
It is a red. Oh my gosh, and Patrick's block of Kabuto is huge here.
Ooh.
So Peter is going to be forced to hold on to these 2 cards.
Massive.
Kabuto showing its stripes here, kind of fortuitously, though.
Yeah.
Wow, Patrick is looking like a god here. Still holding on to 5 cards.
Pitching to the silver, trying to get something out of this.
I love this play from Peter. Silver is not an inane source.
Oh, he's got Kiss of Death. He's checking to see if he can even play it.
So Kiss of Death is not a weapon. Even though it is a dagger, it is still an attack action card. So Peter is good to send this.
You know what they say, pistols aren't guns and daggers aren't weapons.
We are, however, going to call a judge.
Okay.
And make sure that that is all good.
Right.
But I really think the ruling is on the side of Peter here because
I believe
even
the
though-
weapons say weapon on them.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly. And in Kabuto of Imperial Authority says you can't swing with weapons this turn,
Right.
not daggers.
Yep.
Okay, and we're back to the match.
Yep.
Everything is cleared up. Here comes Kiss of Death for 3. No go again here because a stealth attack has already been thrown, and Patrick is going to be forced to play send 1 card, but he is very happy to do so in this case.
And it's a blue, too. He's like, doesn't need that. Flicking the Calistera, taking Patrick down to 1.
And even though it looks really hairy for Patrick, he's still got that Sigil
Yeah.
of Solace in Arsenal, which is exactly where you want it to be in these endgame states. You can encourage your opponent to take way too much damage and then simply blow them out with that Sigil when they think they've got you by the throat.
And look at this. He's got the mark. He's got the Saver Bloodshed. He's going to say, hey, Peter, do you want to keep any cards this turn? Because if you do, you're probably dead.
And look at Patrick. He is so comfortable right now.
Yeah.
This is exactly where Fang shines. When you are online and your opponent is only going to do the wrong thing. They're damned if they block. They're damned if they don't. Here comes Affirm Loyalty to push this up to 8, which is currently over the block of 6 from Peter Buddensiek.
Yeah, did I see a Sink Below in Peter's hand?
I don't know. I didn't see it. But there it is. Okay, we're going to cover it up. But
Okay.
Patrick's fine with this because he's got another dagger to send. Peter's
Yeah.
only got 1 card left.
Yeah.
Losing 2 block value essentially is Peter when this dagger is definitely going to connect and draw a card no matter what.
And there's the no blocks. There's the...
Searing Gaze up to 4. And also, even though Patrick might not be able to use the card drawn off of Saver Bloodshed, he's still got Sigil of Solace in the arsenal, which means that he's going to be able to convert the entirety of this hand and save 1 for arsenal.
Yeah.
That being said,
he
what
doesn't love it, though. I think it was a
Yeah,
blue.
Yeah.
But it's probably still correct. Going up to 4. Peter with only 1 card in hand. 2, sorry.
I think it's just 1.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was
did
Sink
the
Below
Sink
plus
Below.
2 cards.
Yeah, so he's really not looking at much in terms of threats here. Just 3 damage.
It's just another situation. Like, this is exactly why people play Fang. It's once your opponent is sub 10 life, you have all of the authority in this game. You've got sidesteps. The moment they commit blocks, you skirt them.
Yeah.
The moment they don't block, you've got Hunt's End. None of which have in his deck have Patrick seen this game. There's still 3 Hunt's End to find, and those will probably spell the end of this game.
And just blocking 3. 4-card hand to work with. Blue in Arsenal, not the best, but with 3 life, it can be such a challenge to block out.
Oh no, it's a Twist and Turn,
Oh.
which is a much better arsenal than a random blue here. Twist and Turn is going to allow Patrick to swing with this first Obsidian Firevein again if it connects with Peter's life at all. So right now, it's just 4 with a threatening on hit.
It looks like at least 1 reaction in hand.
I see a Blade Flurry.
Yep.
I think, a Pledge Fealty, which is definitely something you want to see early. But in this case, when your opponent is blocking with 2 cards, you can simply say, you're going to lose value on these cards.
We see that fealty popped.
Down to 4 fealty is Patrick. Slightly less loyal, but for good reason. Blade Flurry is going to get this up to 7, leaking 1 damage over Peter and also conferring an additional attack. But no, Patrick says that's not it. Scar Tissue as well, and that means Patrick takes down Peter Buddensiek. Warriors suck, don't they?
That's what I hear.
Oh, Peter. I love Peter so much. He's one of my best friends in Flesh and Blood, but he is notorious for trash talking right before going on feature match and getting absolutely dome wrecked.
Well, this time, he did it again.
You love to see it. And
Yeah.
Peter is such a good sport about these moments. So I think he's going to have nothing but smiles going down the line.
Yeah. Tough opponent. I mean, he's a really good Flesh and Blood player, and you saw it here in this game. It was a close one. It's not like he folded. Certainly had a nice back and forth there, and Patrick was just able to get the game state exactly where Fang wants it. Low life totals where you have to respect those attack reactions, and then he just overwhelms you. And that's exactly what happened.
Patrick R. showing exactly why he and I are so enamored with our Dracai of blades. So go ahead and venture into your kitchen, grab a kitchen knife, pour some kerosene on it, and light it up in the name of the Fang Gang. And we will be back with an interview with Patrick R. after this. Welcome back. We're here with the latest resident of Value Town, Patrick R. That is not a place you are altogether unfamiliar with, though, is it, Patrick?
It's not. It's not. As you know, you and I have been big on Fang basically since Hunted came out, and obviously Bryce had recently published a deck tech for his version of the Fang deck, which is not that different than my version of the Fang deck, on AG's YouTube channel. So that's really what I got today, and so I've been a big proponent of Fang for quite a bit.
And he is just so much fun to boot, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so much fun kabuto, I would say. Sorry. Which was obviously a big headpiece for me in that particular game against Peter. I think it maybe caught him a little off guard. And it's just so many cool tools, so many cool things to do with Fang. It's probably my favorite hero in Flesh and Blood thus far. I didn't know if I could ever move past Dio and Dromai, but I think we're getting there.
Nevertheless, you were not completely locked on him when you walked into the room today. You were debating until the very last moment about playing Dio instead. And I like to think I had a little something to do with you locking in on Fang.
I think that's definitely, your enthusiasm is infectious. But I think I was just a little bit afraid because my version of Fang may be a little different than yours. It just completely loses to Kano. I have no fight there. So I'm hoping to play the gem lottery, and I know Ryan Brown's around here, and he's a killer on Kano. Yep. So I was a little bit scared, but I said, you know what? What's going to be more fun today? And it's swinging daggers.
We have been talking a little bit in the AGE Discord about that new dagger coming our way, the Spell Void one. Would that make you any more comfortable into Kano?
I don't think so. I don't want to look. We have a tendency to disagree about card evaluation, and you have been right just as many times as I have been, probably more often than I have been. I think it's more of a Cinder card.
Okay.
I would love to be proven wrong. I don't really want to lose the one extra. Never mind the one extra value. Because I'm,
right.
Not that I'm in the business of beating Kanos, but I think that extra point of damage over time is maybe worth the extra spell void. But I will try it.
Especially if you're packing those like twist the turns in your resource base, which really looked good today.
Yeah, I think that was a card that I was seeing played a lot by Camo on the Purple Discord. Mara Ferris as well, I believe, is a big fan of the red version. But I looked at it in terms of I'd really like for my pitch cards, my yellows and blues, to block 3. Does that. Not that many of our cards do that necessarily. And then, once you're online, it's the 3 that's printed on the card, and a lot of the times it's an extra 1 from being able to swing again. So the red is a lot of times a 0 for 5, the yellow is a 0 for 4, and I feel like a 0 for 4, once you're online, is about the most you can ask for your yellow.
There are a lot of ways that Fang deck can kind of like turn cards that look pretty lackluster into that fabled 0 for 4. Case in point, Pledge Fealty, which is arguably the worst card to see after you're already online. But nevertheless, if you are able to block out with the rest of the cards in your hand and you go Dagger, Pledge Fealty, Dagger, Refresh Dynamos, that's technically still a 1-card 4. But that being said, Patrick, you didn't see a single one of those cards before you were online. And furthermore, you didn't see a single one of our namesake attack reaction, Hunt's End, until after you were online, throughout the entirety of the game. So I don't know. You did kind of lackluster Fang things and still got there in the end.
Yeah, and we did see a Hunt when he banished it off the top of my deck. I didn't get to play one.
Oh, I did miss that.
No, but I got to get to the fun thing we want to do with Hunt, which is, I love a targeted hit card. I think we...
Hunt's End, not Hunt to the Ends of Raid.
Oh, sorry, yes. Didn't see any of those. And I think it's almost like Peter and I had a gentleman's agreement to not block that game. There's very little blocking happening, and I think I had 2... He had the double Saver Bloodshed hand. He got to draw 2 cards. I don't know if he converted it quite as well as he wanted to, maybe. I'd have to watch it back. I had 2 very effective Saver Bloodshed hands, and it's just, there's so much velocity I think you get with Saver Bloodshed, and it says something because we're probably only the second best Saver Bloodshed deck out there, right?
Definitely. I would have to agree. Even though I love Fang a lot, I would say that Slippy and Marionette probably do it way better than us, at least in terms of Saver Bloodshed. So I want to walk back to the beginning of this game, Patrick, because you did have a couple stumbles, namely turn 0. There was no Pledge Fealty to see, no marking cards to boot, and furthermore, you saved a defense reaction when your opponent then just sent a CNC on the following turn, and you were forced to give up not only 2 cards from hand, but one of them being the only resource card you had to work with.
That's right. Well, I had the Sink Below in Arsenal, as you mentioned, but I also had a
Shelter is
from
the one
Storm
I'm
in my
really
hand,
concerned about.
which became my pitch card, unfortunately. And I think to your point, we are at our least efficient as a deck, and I know you and I've had some discussions about how volatile Fang can be, like, or sort of how much variance you can have. That was a little bit of low variance there. Sending 1 dagger, pitching a card to send 1 dagger and do did no damage because he had a Sink Below is terrible. So I was on the back foot there for sure. But I got online relatively quickly. He wasn't doing a lot of blocking. That helps with that. But I think to your point, once we are online, there's pretty much nobody's matching that value. So even when we're stumbling, if things can line up, if we can do as much as we can to be ending the turn with them marked, so that we can maximize those savor bloodshed weird cheating sort of turns, then I think we're going to put ourselves in a really good position.
So despite the fact that you were able to then get a mark off after that first stumble and generate 2 fealty tokens pretty quickly, you still were locked into this phase 2 of the Fang game plan where you are forced to do something affirmative on your turn. You simply can't just block out and give all the tempo to your opponent at this point, even if you want to. And you were faced with a situation where you might have wanted to do just that. It's a double savor bloodshed turn. At this point, are you sweating?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, sweating in the sense that I'm thinking I'm in trouble, not sweating in the sense that, if you're falling from 1,000 feet, what is there to worry about sort of thing. I don't think I didn't seriously have any consideration to being able to block that out. So I sort of thought, I gave a second to think about it. Could I do this? Figured I couldn't, and said, hopefully, he's drawing so many cards. Like, I'm saying that as if it's a con. And hopefully he doesn't convert the rest of his hand super well, and I can do, I knew my hand also was going to be able to present a lot of damage, which is what I did. I don't think I quite matched him, but over time, I really do think the turning point was that Kabuto turn that I was able to sort of force him to pitch a red and a yellow to pop one of his silver, and that's sort of what I fortunately, my hands were smooth. I was either blocking with them or I was able to present enough pressure such that I didn't have the sort of stumble quite like that. I think that, it was a close game.
Yeah.
I was thinking at a certain point, I had a sigil in Arsenal. I was thinking, is the lethal presentation with me saving myself going to happen? Didn't quite get there, but it was really close.
Yeah, I saw you take a pause after you drew that twist and turn. I could tell you really wanted to just leave that sigil in Arsenal for as long as possible, because that is one of our best Arsenal cards against Assassin. I do want to come back to your choice of headpiece. The Kabuto of Imperial Authority is an interesting one in this particular matchup. I myself really am big on Crown of Providence here, just because Assassins be coming for your arsenal, man, right? Yeah. So walk me through exactly how you got there, because this is something that we haven't truly discussed for a while.
No, we haven't. So let me start by saying, threshold issue, I don't have a Crown of Providence in my 80. So that if I did, I probably would have played it. That being said, obviously I made that choice.
Yes.
What I was thinking is, so Crown of Providence is great specifically into Assassins and maybe Guardians. Into Florian, I actually prefer the Kabuto sometimes to stuff a Reaping Blade coming, now that we don't have to worry about Scepter anymore.
Yep. Praise be. Thank you, Brian Gottlieb in the sky.
And so I made the decision to move. I'd always had Kabuto as my second hat. And I made the choice to go from Crown of Providence to Balance of Justice to sort of shore up. I was really concerned about Prism, and I think, we're sort of in a meta where players are drawing cards a lot more than they're thinking about. It's not sort of like that brief moment when like High Octane and Cerebellum Processor was around and everybody was on the hat, or when Brute was the best deck for, whatever, like a month, whatever that was. And
hey, wait a minute. They had a little bit more than that.
Yeah, something like that.
It was before you got into the game, Sonny boy. Back in my day, Brutes were cranking.
Yeah. It's so I don't know. I played against a couple of really good Prisms at a PQ last week, and I felt like if I didn't have Balance of Justice, I would have lost those games, because the extra card is just so valuable. And it's not something I'm settled on. I think it's a meta-dependent call.
Okay, I think that is a very fair choice. That being said, I don't think you've sold me on no Crown of Providence versus Slippy. But yeah, I think I mean, Balance of Justice is at top of mind, not just top of head, going into the high seas meta, because you're talking about drawing a lot of cards now. Just wait until everybody's generating like 7 gold tokens a game.
Yeah, I think good point. It becomes, I think it's going to be non-negotiable.
Yes.
The question is, do I want to make the extra room in the 80 for Crown of Providence? I think that remains to be seen. I'm not quite there because, maybe if Assassin seems just absolutely busted right now. But so maybe if that's the case, I'll bring the Crown back. But I think we're okay. Maybe make some room for some other cards post high seas. Maybe some Warmonger's Diplomacy. I'm thinking that could be cool. We slide in blues pretty much at will. So I'm excited to see what develops. I'm probably going to stick to Fang for now.
Okay.
But I'm excited to battle it out. I want to see what this gravy matchup is going to look like. Hopefully a couple of them will be Fang favored.
So one last thing before I let you go and get ready for your next match here, Patrick. There was a little bit of trash talk going on before that match. It was all in good fun because we know Peter is a good sport. But Peter said Warrior just sucks as a class in general, so he felt pretty good. You, however, had a retort.
I did?
You did, because you had just bodied
sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I had just beaten our teammate Zachary Wallach the last round on Slippy as well. I drew a lot better into Zach. Sorry, Zach. And it was a close game. I don't look Warrior. I wish we got a little bit more help. I know Alice says, folks, sometimes you watch these, maybe throw us a bone. But it's Dory's always Dory. Kasai, a lot of folks are doing really well on those draw swords variants. Of course, we have Colin Erickson. There's always a killer on Kasai. But as I've said to you a couple times, I think the way to win with Warrior right now is to be a Draconic Warrior. And that's what we're doing. We're putting ourselves a lot of pressure on them. And I effectively raced Peter quite well in that game. So I'm feeling pretty good. I don't think Warrior's in the trash bin, but we could always use a little help.
Heck yeah. I'm not good at hand sight. I'm trying to make Fang Gang. I'm trying to make an F and a G.
Oh.
Anyway, I'll work on that over the break. But bottom line, Fang Gang rise up. You heard it here from Patrick. Be a Draconic Warrior if you want to win as Warrior. And Peter says Warrior sucks, but it doesn't. Anyway, we will be back with more Flesh and Blood after this. Bye!